Our goal in SciTech is to act along the continuum of funding opportunities to fill in gaps where research funding is not available from other sources. We try to plug the holes in NIH, NSF, and foundational funding. And we have 4 grant programs that are designed specifically for that. And as we emerge along the continuum, our goal, especially in the translational research grants that we give out, is to encourage startup company formation, licensing opportunities, and product commercialization so that I can hand you off to our lovely group called Emerging Company Development down the hall from us so that you can then start a company or be with a company and get one of our loans that goes to the companies. We have 2 kinds of loans that go to companies. So it's meant to be a continuum, but you can enter the process anywhere along the continuum that you happen to find yourself. You don't have to start at the beginning. And you can, if you have a business and you're looking for research loan support, you can contact ECD directly. They're on our website, and they're happy to talk to everyone. So science and technology development, what do we offer to North Carolina? We're here to foster scientific innovation and collaboration. And by doing the grants to the universities, we hope to encourage that across the state. In addition to the grants, our group also does intellectual exchange groups. These are societies and associations of people with like-minded interests in science. And I'll have a couple slides at the end on some of the intellectual exchange groups where you can get involved with people in academic, in companies, in all of the different regions across the state. They just share a commonality in their interest in science. So one of our biggest pushes lately in our evolution has been to encourage this continuum of translational research into company development. And we're very proud that SciTech grants have led to the formation of 40 companies, which is, we like to brag about. And you can see there that they're not all RTP based either. And as I mentioned, we are intending to fill gaps in the funding continuum from the national and foundational research societies. But we are trying to stay cognizant of where research is going. I try to stay on top of a lot of the scientific literature so that we know where these funding gaps are and that we can evolve our programs to meet them. And what we do to assess our success, we look at the grantees in terms of follow-on metrics. This includes follow-on funding, IP generated, licenses, companies formed. Those are the success metrics by which I am evaluated. So that's what we're looking for in the grants. And the other question that I get a lot is, what do you mean by life sciences? We have a very broad definition of life sciences. We do not confine ourselves to biotech, even though our name is Biotechnology Center. We are across the entire life sciences spectrum. And we fund grants, not even intentionally, but proportionally to the number of grant proposals that come in, depending on the various sectors. This was actually a really startling graph to us because this was the first time we had ever looked at, are we favoring one sector over another sector? And when we ran the numbers, we found out no. Totally, it comes in proportionally. The grants that come in funded proportionally to the grants that go out. So the first grant that we are rolling out for 2019, where we saw a gap, was we were seeing a gap in immediate micro grant funding for new novel ideas and for technologies that were getting ready to launch into translational research. So this is our flash grant. It is a micro grant. It is $24,000. And you have to fall into one of two categories. You're either in the disruptive technology category, where you're getting that proof of concept data so that you can apply for further grant funding down the line. It's really establishing a beachhead somewhere. You've got a kooky idea, you've got the science to back it up, but you don't have enough there and you just need a little bit of money to get that experiment done. Or you've completed your basic research, but you have that one last experiment. If only I could do a mouse study, if only I could do a tox study, if only I had X data, I could really say this is on the road to commercialization. One of those two categories, you are eligible for a flash grant. These are meant to be quick, meaning in our world, 4 to 6 week turnaround time. Quick is relative, I know. And very short duration projects. $24,000, most researchers could spend that in a month, easy. But we're hoping anywhere between 1 month, 6 months, 9 months if you're ag, if you need a growing season. You get to define what your term is, but we want you to justify it. This is a 3-page application. This is not in depth. This is to the level of proportion to the value dollars that you're getting out of it. So we call these just quick and dirties. Just tell us why you need the money, how it's going to impact your research, how it's going to impact the product that you're developing or the research that you're doing. Any questions? I meant to say, any questions along the way, please feel free to interrupt me, because I know I go very fast because I've been writing the guidelines for these, so I know what I'm talking about. But I realize most of you don't have a clue right now, so please feel yes.
How long does it take for y'all to review them?
We're hoping final decisions within 4 to 6 weeks. So with the January 16th deadline, we're hoping to tell you by the end of February at the absolute latest. And we're encouraging a start date of March 15th, and that's giving a couple weeks for sponsored research offices to sign off. We actually find that a lot of our delays are actually in your sponsored research offices not doing the paperwork, and we can't control that. We wish we could tell them. And these are going to be so quick that we're actually doing upfront disbursements. You get all $24,000 up front. You owe us a final report at the end, but the money's yours to spend. Just don't spend it on parties, cake. You know, that would look really bad for me. Yes?
I have a quick question. What is regional development mean?
That is specifically for the Piedmont Triad or the Eastern region, regional development for our regional offices. So we are looking to make this as low barrier to entry to all of the universities across North Carolina. In blue?
Do you have to be a university person to apply for this? Can it be a business that needs a proof of concept?
No, it has to be a
It has to be a
university.
university thing.
Yes.
Given the size of that, have you put any limits on indirects?
That's a great question because we do not allow indirects on any of our grants. We have agreements with all of the universities and colleges in North Carolina. They cannot charge overhead on our grants. Because we are a state-funded agency, charging overhead would sort of be robbing Peter to pay Paul. So yes, you get all $24,000. Any other questions? So the big thing here is, and the reason I really wanted to come out in December, was that the first deadline is January 16th, and this is going to be an open round. We want to see all of the ideas across the entire spectrum of technologies and sectors and throw it out there. Let's see what's out there. We want to see in our first round what people are thinking about and where they really want to go. Yes?
So when you say open round, does that eliminate the disruptive technology focus?
No, it just means it doesn't have to be ag, or it doesn't have to be pharmaceutical, or it doesn't have to be marine. We think we may in the future go to an RFP sort of program with with the flash, with one or two of the cycles per year having a specific focus, such as, we believe at this point, the second round of the flash grant, which will be later in the spring, will be a digital health and precision medicine focused one. But this first round is just going to be open to any technology across the state. Anything else? Yes.
How many are you looking for?
I think we have funding for 9. I think. But let's go with 9. There could be pleasant surprises, I don't know.
Will these be offered annually?
There's 3 cycles per year. So we're gonna run 2 cycles in fiscal year 2019. Our fiscal year runs July to June. So we are going to offer 2 cycles in fiscal year 19, one in January and one in, I believe, April. And then it'll be 3 cycles per year in the fiscal years following that. There will always be at least one open round. We don't want to exclude people. So if 2 rounds are directed, then the next round will be an open round for any technology. Yes.
Do you require or encourage preliminary data?
Encourage, yes.
Okay.
We understand sometimes the sort of out there ideas don't have a lot of preliminary data.
But that is because some NSF program or some NIH programs will say we don't want any preliminary data or very little. So you guys do like some
We'd
feasibility.
like something to tell us that you're not completely
Okay.
out of the norm.
Okay.
We want creative, but not totally in Mars.
So, but to include that in the proposal.
Yes.
Okay.
But you only have a very short amount
Sure.
of space to put it there.
Sure.
I mean, I think if I remember right, it's maybe half a page.
Okay.
So it better be short and better be
Sure.
sweet.
Okay.
Yes.
No parties, no overhead, any other limitations on what funding? Okay.
Okay. So the next grant that we're launching in 2019 is our flagship grant. And this is going to be a combination of our BIG and our TAG programs. A lot of you here have either applied for a BIG or a TAG or have heard about a BIG or a TAG, but these are our translational research grant opportunities. These are for technologies that have advanced beyond the basic research stage. So you're past the NIH funding level. You've done your R01s, you've done your directed grants. You're now at that critical juncture of starting to look at product development and commercialization of your technology. What we found running our BIG and our TAG programs, our BIG had an IP window from the invention disclosure form up through a provisional patent application, and our TAG had an IP window from patent application up through issued patent. And we were finding that by having that hole in the middle, a lot of researchers were falling down that hole and not being eligible for either the BIG because they already had a patent but they needed commercialization help, or they weren't eligible for a TAG because they were still at the provisional patent phase, but they were already in negotiations with a potential licensee or someone who wanted to develop the technology further. So in doing the translational research grant, we have combined the BIG and the TAG into one grant that spans the IP spectrum from invention disclosure up through a fully issued patent. Now, these are $100,000 awards, and what we are looking for in this new grant is a team-driven, milestone-based project with a project management emphasis. By team-driven, what we're looking for is 3 different components. We are looking for the scientific PI who must be a university-based faculty member, tenure track, tenure, research professor, we cannot give grants to postdocs, and we cannot give grants to adjuncts. They have to have some signatory authority at the university and be controlled by the contract has to be under the university's control. So we're looking for that scientific PI. The second person on the team must be the technology transfer office representative. This person is on the team to attest to the university's intent to advance the intellectual property position of the technology. Whether that's from advancing from invention disclosure to the filing of a provisional, converting a provisional into a full patent application, or following through and prosecuting a full patent once it has been issued. The technology transfer officer is there on the team to make sure that the university is still engaged and still supportive of the IP that's coming out of this grant. And the third member of the team is someone we're calling the external stakeholders, or in this case, the end users. What we are looking for is a team member who will represent the market pull of your technology. Someone who will be the end user, who can help guide development of the product into something that people would actually want to buy and use. We find a lot of researchers have an idea and they try to push their technology through to a marketplace that really has no interest in what they're developing. And so by having the inclusion of an end user, we are hoping to have the voice of the customer represented from the very beginning of the project. Now, this end user could be anyone from a clinician, physician, nurse practitioner, physical therapist, PA, can be a farmer. If you're in an ag position, we would want to hear the voice of a farmer who would actually be using the product. It could be a potential licensee who is interested in de-risking the technology and will not begin licensing negotiations until the product meets certain specifications. So these are the three important critical parts of the team. There can be optional people on the team, one of which is a business development advisor, and they can be involved and paid for with this grant money to develop the market and competitor analysis or the IP landscaping, anything involving the business case for developing the technology. What is the market you're going to be serving? How large is it? Where are you actually going to be in that marketplace? And the fifth potential member, this is an optional member, is an independent project manager. We have found through a lot of experience that the involvement of a project manager to herd the cats and drive the project forward is critical to the success of a project. This person has to be able to talk to all the team members and group them every so often, periodically, quarterly, whatever it is, and really make sure people stay on track. And really make sure people don't take, as we put it, a left turn at Albuquerque and start going off on tangents and not doing the product development that they thought they were doing. And we emphasize that this person should be independent because we also find that if it's a postdoc or a lab manager, they can't really talk back to the PI, and they can't really tell their PI, no, that's not really what we're supposed to be doing with this money. I mean, science is cool. I'm a scientist. I love going on those tangents. Those tangents are great, but it's not what the grant money is intended for. These are very project-directed grants, and the project comes first. And so we would like to see an independent project manager just to keep everyone on board, focused and engaged. So I have all all these cool slides that I totally forgot about project manager sliding in. Any questions? I've thrown a lot of stuff at you, I know.
I have a question. How
Yes.
is a project manager selected?
Hopefully by the PI and the other team members. We can provide a list of names of potential project managers. If you contact us and say, we are working in this space, we are happy to provide lists. We don't provide recommendations. We cannot tell you that by using a certain person, you will get a competitive advantage. We will be happy to provide you with a list of people that we know who have agreed to be on our list and who are open to being approached as a potential project manager. Yes?
Is it possible to receive more than one of these grants for a project that's evolving over time?
Sequentially, yes. But you cannot hold more than 2 NC Biotech grants at any time in your time span. So the maximum number is 2. So if you have a TRG and a flash, you have to be done with one before you apply for the next, before you get the award on the next one. And we do look at that. We do try not to let any one person dominate, so you have to keep it, you can only have 2 at one time. Questions? All right. Then the one grant that is not changing in 2019 is our Pfizer NC Biotech Distinguished Postdoctoral Fellowship in Gene Therapy. And this was a grant in response to a very generous donation from Pfizer to develop the next generation of scientists in AAV gene therapy. This is a combination for the postdoc to pair with a mentor. The mentor must be based at a North Carolina institution, and the work must be done here in North Carolina. And the funds provide for a 2-year fellowship and also for professional development of the postdoc. We're hoping to make it distinguished by providing opportunities to the postdoc for professional development, sort of all the skills that we wish we had been given as a postdoc that we had to learn the hard way out in the real world. So these include project management training. It includes biomanufacturing training. It includes intellectual property overviews on patents and how you patent your work. It includes regulatory training so that you understand how the FDA is going to be regulating the AAV gene therapy product that you will be developing in your postdoc. It also includes travel funds to go to present your work. Any questions?
What's the award amount? Because on the flash, you said it was 24,000, the other one 100. What is the amount for this one?
I believe, and don't quote me on this, I believe that the salary for the postdoc, and that doesn't include the peripherals, but the salary is $65,000. So we tried to make it a little bit higher than an NIH postdoc. Yes,
Is this intended for rising graduate students or current postdocs?
it can be both.
Okay.
Anyone who's working in AAV gene therapy.
Okay.
Other questions? All right, and our 4th grant is the Innovation Impact Grant. And this is an evolution of our Institutional Development Grant. This is instrumentation money to buy a piece of equipment to go into a core facility to be used across a university or a multi-institutional core facility that's open to people from outside that one institution, wherever the instrument happens to be located. This, we have found, helps the universities compete for faculty, compete for grants and follow-on funding. And instrumentation, we feel, is a place where there aren't many other players in the field right now. There really aren't a lot of opportunities to buy those big ticket pieces of equipment for core facilities. So these are $150,000, and we require a 25% cash match. And that match, if it is multi-institutional, could be spread across the institutions who are contributing to to purchase the instrument. And this next deadline will be sometime in the summer of 2019. This is once a year. It's not cyclical. We have one per year, one round per year. Yes?
Your 25% cash match, that if the core institution is in North Carolina, but the affiliated partners are not in North Carolina, will that be qualified?
It would be qualified, but probably not as competitive as if all the users were in North Carolina.
And the 25% cash cannot be federal fund, am I right?
Right. So these are departmental funds or core facility, has user fees that they have a pot of money still sitting on. And we have the definition of what qualifies as a core facility up on our website, so that you can ensure that your facility meets the definition of our definition of a core facility. Things like having a chargeback system and a way to reserve time that's not limited to only people, say, who have access to a building, or, like department biochemistry can only use it at midnight every other Saturday or something like that. That's not a core facility. That's a piece of equipment in somebody's office. Yes? I'm sorry, I can't hear you. In the IDG, a group of researchers could band together to purchase the equipment. In this case, it has to go into a core facility. Right, and so this is just defining it as the evolution of that. That what we were finding was when researchers, say in the Department of Biochemistry or wherever, I don't know my opinion on biochemistry right now, would get together to apply for one of these instruments, they would put it in an individual researcher's lab and claim everyone had access to it, but really they restricted it so much that only a very select group of people could use their instruments. And that's not our intent with this program. Our intent is to buy instruments that benefit the entire university. So that's why we're requiring it go into a core facility, so everyone has equal opportunity access to it. Yes?
Can the cash match be met by committing to a maintenance contract on the equipment?
No. And we do not pay for the maintenance contract. You will be required to tell us how you are going to pay for it. The most common method of paying for the source contract is a chargeback system. And most core facilities have that chargeback system specifically for that. Although we are, talk to us if you have a different method of paying for it. Yes.
Is it limited just to equipment, or can it be used for renovations or new construction? Okay.
We actually do request that you tell us where you're going to put it and if you're going to have to renovate in order to put it in. But we're not going to pay for the renovations. Yes?
Just in general, about different category of your funding here, since you're state funded, and when we apply for NSF and NIH, they require matching. Will the sum of your grant be allowed as a part of the matching when we apply for the federal grants?
We cannot say yes definitively, but people have done it in the past. That you can tell us that you're using us as your match, but that's really up to the NSF or the NIH to decide whether they will accept our funds as the match.
Some of the, like the flash grant and the fellowship for the postdoc probably will be more appropriate because I could have a postdoc working in your institution that relates to the NSF grant that we're applying for, and then we can justify, we already have a postdoc in place that's funded by the North Carolina Biotechnology Center, and therefore, when I apply for the grant, I will say I probably don't need extra postdoc money because this postdoc is already in place, working on the subject. I could see that justification might work, but I think that maybe more details we'll have to work out with you.
With us and with your department and with your program manager to the place you're applying. That it's all very, very convoluted, and we can only say sometimes it works, but we can't say definitively that it will.
Thank you.
So, some general takeaways on what we're looking for. We're looking for milestone-based projects with clear, justified, and achievable goals. We are not a funding source for tinkering with it until you run out of money. We want a beginning, and we want an end, and we want to know how you're going to get there. Everyone who reviews these are trained scientists who are experts in the technology and in commercial development opportunities, especially with translational research grants. They are looking at your study design to make sure you're doing the study you should be doing to advance to your milestones. So we're really looking for that this is the study we need to do, this is our begin, there's our end, we're going to get there in the middle this way. We understand too that things go wrong. Data is not always what you think it's going to be. And there will be those places where it either, comes to a dead end, in which case, especially the translational research grant, we actually reserve the right to kill the funding for the project if you don't meet your milestones. But that being said, you talk to us early and often, and you have meetings with us so that we can work something out. Because, as we said, we just need to know what your contingency plans are. Because we've all been there. We are, and the panel that reviews these are all trained scientists, so we do look at your study design. And again, tinkering until the money runs out, or just wandering off into a tangential direction is not what we are looking for. And we are looking at your likelihood of achieving success and follow-on funding and patents and publications. We do track our awardees for 10 years post-award through biannual emails that they'll receive, where you say, oh, this grant allowed us to publish this grant allowed us to patent that. And those are our follow-on funding. We look at your follow-on funding. Did our grant allow you to apply for the next level grant? So, and we also look for a degree of fit with our specific programs. So as I mentioned earlier, we have in our group intellectual exchange groups. These are groups of scientists who meet regularly, semi-regularly, just to have a common theme and a common interest in a particular science or scientific subject. So for example, in RTP, we have all of these groups, and the longest one is plant molecular biology. That has been going on for, I think, over 25 years. And they meet once a month, or have a conference every other month, I think, maybe every quarter. And what they're given by being an intellectual exchange group is they are given access to the Biotech Center, rent-free for their meetings, catering, and they're also given support administratively. We have one staff member, Hannah Cole, whose whole job responsibility is to run the intellectual exchange groups, from membership lists to membership fees to scheduling your events to making sure that your conference or your meeting runs smoothly. And she is a great resource. And if you are interested in starting an intellectual exchange group, we do take applications for new intellectual exchange groups. So if there's a group of people here who have, colleagues in RTP or around the state, and they think meeting an RTP would be great, contact Hannah, and she'll help you out. Now, Nancy do you have some intellectual?
We have exchange groups, and actually one was run out of UNCG, but the champion had moved on, so there's opportunity.
There are regional exchange groups as well. And we leave that up to our regional reps on how they run their programs. But for RTP and for being a central convening, we rely on Hannah and our group to run these groups. And if you are interested in any of these groups, you can send an email to Hannah or look on our website for the intellectual exchange groups and ask to become a member. One of the other things that we offer in science and technology development is event and meeting grants. And these are small dollar amounts to hold your event or your meeting. And it doesn't have to be an R2B, it can be across the state. So we have the biotechnology event sponsorships and biotechnology meeting grants. And you can get up to $3,000 requested. And these are based on availability of funds. There's no set number that we give out per year. And it's on a quarterly basis. So for example, events that will be held between April and June of 2019, we will be taking applications up through Wednesday, March 6th is the deadline for putting in your event sponsorship request. Unfortunately, December 6th or something was for your first 3 months of 2019. But we do have one more for the second quarter or fourth quarter, whatever. I don't understand fiscal years very well. So, to conclude, I just wanted to give you some success stories from here in Piedmont, Greensboro, A&T. So, our first big, I believe, was awarded to Sandy Schultz last year. Sandy Schultz is a professor in the Department of Kinesiology at UNC Greensboro, and she was awarded a big for $100,000 for a knee arthrometer. She was doing prototype development with it. And we also awarded A&T an institutional development grant, which is our instrumentation grant, for a hyperspectral imaging system. So it should be somewhere close by. I'm not really quite sure where it went. Oh, it's in this building. There, I have a winner. See, my success story is actually here in the building. This is awesome. Thank you. So I just wanted to end on that note of positivity that people in and around and in this room, in fact, have gotten awards from the Biotech Center. And there's our contact information if you need to talk with either Nancy or I.